This is the Not Bitter, Just Better podcast.
The Everton our way.
Straight from the street end.
Howdy Blues. Welcome to the Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. Mr. Johnny Seven here. Again, not quite always yet, but 2 weeks in a row. So that's a good start. I noticed when I was doing a little snippet video, it translated the subtitles to Aldi Blues. I'm sure there are a few who like to go to Aldi, but howdy anyway. Got quite a lot to talk about today. First off, looking at a recap of the Bournemouth game, as much as I'm not going to enjoy doing that. Also, looking at particularly Sean Dyche's comments afterwards and speculation on his future, some of the latest Everton news and transfer updates, and a preview of the FA Cup game coming up against Peterborough on Thursday night. I'm recording on Monday the 6th. Okay. I'm going to try and do one of these Monday-ish, which will recap the weekend's game before, and then Friday to preview and recap any midweek games. If there are no weekend games, I'll cut it down to one a week. I'm going to try and keep the sweet spot about 45 minutes an episode, so reduce my waffle a little bit more. So the Bournemouth game, looking back, where to start? At the beginning. So team news in, Brozier retains his place up top ahead of Calvert-Lewin, and Lindstrom starts in place of Harrison. So a little bit of change, which is what Blues have been shouting out for. But ultimately, the way the game started and the way it panned out over the first half, change in personnel, but not necessarily in the type of football that was played, which was, different than the way we played against Forest, yes, in the fact that Forest let us have the ball. But in our actual approach, Broche is very different than Calvert-Lewin. We're just not going to get the same kind of play from him. So we needed to tweak our own play there, and it just didn't really seem to happen. And with regards to Brozier, he didn't last that long in the game anyway, going off in the first half, and Calvert-Lewin came back on. I'm going to talk about the attacking options a little bit, but it's not a good sign. You know, we did have that Brozier option. It doesn't look like that's going to be an option now for a few games. So yeah, I'll come into that in the news in a little bit. But we didn't really show much in the first half. Well, didn't really show anything. We didn't show anything throughout the game, really. 0 shots on target. I've got some stats later on, but 0 shots on target is the bigger picture for Everton is just not good enough. For a long portion of the game, Bournemouth did look more likely, but it didn't look like they were going to actually snatch the goal until the 77th minute when the sub came on, and their subs made more impact than ours ultimately. So Brooks came on and scored a great volley in the 77th minute. Our subs, people being like saying about Dyche not making changes. Dyche actually made a double substitution at half time there, and brought Harrison Armstrong on. The players coming off though. There's been big shouts for Decore, and at the moment, Decore is getting an awful lot of stick, and he's not performing well. Let's face it. But where's he playing? Because in the past, he's been kind of entrusted to be our most advanced central midfielder. Not quite a number 10 because he hasn't got that in his game, but more in support or closest in support to the attacker. He's not doing that. He's not playing in a traditional central defensive midfield position because we've got Garner and Mangala playing there. So where is he playing? On, so I feel for him a little bit. Um, Obviously he's still got to put a shift in. He's putting a shift in, but it just like he just doesn't know what he's doing on the ball and everything. Possession, his play is just shocking. I just don't know what he's offering, and I do, as I say, I feel for him because he's getting absolutely ripped to shreds. Saying people saying he's the worst footballer they've ever seen at Everton. I've seen one or two shots, and it's people haven't generally gone overboard with that, but if he's the worst, then they must have not been watching the last 25 years because there's considerably a lot worse than that we've had. Um, but I agree. What is he offering the club at the moment? A massive wage, and I don't know. We've had this problem in the past where we've got three central defensive midfielders, and he could be an up and down box to box ish, but that attacking part, a few key goals aside, it's just not there, and he's not a playmaker. I don't know. But he managed to play the full game at the weekend. So it's baffling, really. So anyway, going back to the goal. Oh yeah, Harrison Armstrong, one of the bright points of the 17-year-old lad coming on, and a few nice little touches. Um, but ultimately, uh, no real positive impact on the game, as in we didn't register one single shot on target. And their goal, as I said before, great volley by Brooks. One of their subs who came on, and I've got a couple of questions about it. One, who was marking him? And there's been a lot of fingers pointed in the direction of Mikalenko. Again, I think he's getting a little bit of a raw deal. He's had a rough couple of weeks. Other than that, he was quite consistent up until then. But he's got a massive problem. Uh, as in, he followed Baines and Digne, who were like two of if you look at Dean's stats at the moment, one of the most um, prolific in the way of assists over the last few years. And he was in the same boat with Everton, and was probably on track to being a good, solid replacement for Baines in the long run before Benitez had a stupid brain fart and decided to let him go. Um, One of those in it. Um, so I do feel like Mikalenko he's got that shadow hanging over him. Uh, he's not the best going forward, but again, what is he being asked to do? Has anyone ever seen him go on the overlap and put a decent ball in? I don't think that's been highlighted as one of his strengths, and therefore you might see it now and again where he's on the overlap. He's not very often used at all. Um, he just doesn't he doesn't put decent crosses in. I think I saw a stat the other day that he's not put one single assist in during this time, and that's from a fullback. That is massive, especially the way we've played over the years. So. Not great. I've seen a few shouts to say Young, who's turned it around a bit as far as Blues are concerned, been one of our most consistent performers this season. Maybe giving him a shot at left back, moving him over to left back, and maybe Coleman right back or Patterson. But then when Patterson came on the weekend, he didn't he just wasn't good at all. He was brighter when he came on against Forest and had a little bit of a impact then. But the weekend, yeah, you can see why he isn't selected consistently. And sort of unfortunate because he just seems to have stalled a little bit in his career. But it just shows you, in a sense, when players like that, he's saying, give them a go, give them a go, give them a go. And he kind of gets a go and doesn't take the opportunity. So I'm going to do that face a lot. One of those. Yeah, you got to laugh or you cry. And I think there was a few, probably a few crying into the pint at the weekend. Um, so yeah, so ultimately, 77-minute winner from Bournemouth. Didn't look like, couldn't really see where the goal was going to come from. There was one effort by Decore from um, just outside the box or the edge of the box quite late on, which flashed past the post. I think what the commentator said that the goalie's dive was one for the cameras, and yeah, it wasn't as close as first suspected. Other than that, I can't recall much else really. Pickford was the busier goalkeeper for sure, and he was probably Everton's man of the match again. Some very, very handy saves, and but without him, I don't know. People saying that, oh yeah, going back to the goal, great volley by Brooks, but one where was Mikalenko, and the second part of that, why did Brandweight duck? It's I can't get my head around it at all. People saying maybe Pickford gave him a shout. I, I don't I don't care if he did or he didn't. A volley like that, if your head's in the way of it and the goalie's giving a shout, you've got to take care of your own business first and just get your big head in the way of it. That's I can't. No, I just can't fathom why he made that decision to duck under it. Um, Insane. But there's nothing to say they wouldn't have gone on with the pressure they had anyway to and not score. So uh, yeah, um, 0 shots. Got some stats here. Let's see. Not pretty reading at all. Not one single shot on target. One win in the last 11. Sorry. Harrison Armstrong was a bright point, quite composed on the ball, could be decent, but do we want to do we want to rely on 17-year-olds again? Um, just well, my answer is no. I think Bournemouth had 60. I've lost my stats here now. Bournemouth had 60% possession. We had 40. They had a number of shots on target, which I've lost the info on this now. Let me see. I did have all this queued up. I am semi-professional at times, but ultimately, uh, they had 14 shots, 5 shots on target, and we had 7 with 0 on target. Passing accuracy, 82% pass completion compared to Everton 75. I was surprised it was that high, to be honest. 75% seems quite generous. They were effective in the pressing and their tactical adjustments and the changes, which led to their winner. Our defensive approach, men behind the ball and without anyone supporting Calvert-Lewin or Broja and then Calvert-Lewin. Um, this is what change personnel, but there needs to be a different strategy, and ultimately the big laughing point. I mean, again, you've got to laugh, or you'll absolutely just go absolutely loopy. Uh, with was Dyche's post-match comments, and to me, it sounded like he was a man at the end of his tether it just kind of clutching at straws. Paraphrasing here, I did get the accurate quote and I put it out on our Facebook and Insta pages. But ultimately, he said, I've said ultimately a lot today. I'm going to try and stop doing that. He said, um, it's not really that bad a run if you throw some wins in there. But we haven't had any wins in there. One win and 11. I saw the stats as well. It's like one goal from open play in the last 15 hours. Um, and that was Ndiaye's against Man City. So I was trying to work this out. So Young's against Wolves was a free kick. Are they classing the two own goals as not us, or were they from set pieces? And Mangala's, was it a result of the set piece as well? So I was trying to work that out. But with the extra times and stuff like that, that is one goal from open play in around 17 hours of football. And how many shots there as well? Just outrageous statistics, and it's beyond. I mean, we are looking at Mike Walker territory here with those stats. Um, if we look, put this out on Facebook. If we look at Marco Silva and when he got sacked by Everton, and he was nowhere near this bad. Roberto Martinez, who had a really good season, and the big criticism was there was no plan B, and we'd love any of his plans at the moment. Just anything, please, has got to be better than this. I mean, I probably wouldn't stretch as far as saying get Rafa back, and I wouldn't stretch as far as getting Sam back because I couldn't handle his smug face in our dugout again. But Sam, I mean, having the security of the position he got us in seems like a pipe dream at the moment, and that's horrible to think about. Um, so ultimately, another disappointment on the back of the disappointment of the Forest game. Bournemouth, we haven't got a good record against them anyway, but they didn't look impressive at all, and we've got to be doing better against sides like that. I don't care if they were on a good run or whatever. We have got to do better. When they're performing like they performed, we need to step it up. Not even step it up to a level that our players can perform, because there's so many underperforming along with the manager. It's just unreal. So Tarkovsky, he's quite rash at the moment, and he's not got that calmness which he seems to have in the past, which you need from that a good experienced defender, and he's not. Uh, he's not showing that at the moment. Again, Decore, I mentioned before, we just don't know what he's offering. Garner Gay's probably one of the better performers at the moment, consistent. But again, apart from like clearing stuff up, what's he offering? Anyway, I've gone 17 minutes on that, so much for not knowing where to start. So I'm gonna pause that there, and I'm gonna come back in a sec with a little bit of Everton news.
News.
So, looking at the Everton news, looking at before the weekend, there was kind of assurances coming out for Dyche that his position was safe with the new owners, but it seems it's come out on Sky Sports today that the owners, the Frequent Group, are now assessing Dyche's future following the Bournemouth defeat. I think they were assessing it over the weekend anyway, but that Bournemouth defeat, I think the overall manner of the defeat and the 0 shots on target, it's got to be alarm bells ringing, and I think there's an overwhelming sway at the moment that something needs to change, and I don't think it's enough to just sign another striker. And this is where I'll talk about the striking issues. I'll come back to the Dyche and the odds, Dyche and odds and stuff like that in a minute. But the striking options, if we brought someone in, is that going to turn around Dyche's fortunes and Everton's fortunes? You can play Calvert-Lewin up top, you can play Brozier up top, you can play Beto up top, and or Chimiti up top. Some of those options aren't available at the moment because of injury, which I'll go on to in a little bit as well. But you could stick in his pomp Lukaku up there, and I don't see where where goals are going to come from, because you might get one little breakaway, but you need to have balls over the top to do that. We're not playing balls over the top. We're playing balls up to the top and expecting Calvert-Lewin to hold it up himself. There needs to be, I mean, early on in the season, there were a few more chances being created, and Calvert-Lewin did miss a few of them. And I think that's where the criticism was justified. He missed a lot of chances early on in the season. Ultimately, though, what are we creating? We're just lumping the ball up towards him. There's no decent crosses going in. Um, well, there's very few decent crosses going in. We tried to play the same way with Broja, but he's not that type of player. We tried to play the same way with Beto, who's definitely not that type of player. Big lad, but he's not a target man. He's more like get the ball and try and run past players, which you see that a little bit. But he's not an up top on his own. He can't do that because if he loses it, who's backing him up? So, and he's not good enough to do it all completely on his own. He might get one little bit of skill and go past a player or two, and he's got a decent bit of pace on him. But more often than not, he's picking it up too deep to do that. So ultimately, I think that the change needs to be up top, doesn't it? Up top, at the top of the club. I mean, in a management position. Because whatever personnel you can put in there now, I don't think that the type of game is going to change, and it doesn't seem to be a different way of playing. We want to shut up shop, and if other teams do that against us, we're clueless, and other teams are better on the break than us. So, and there doesn't seem to be another way of playing, and the players can't put two passes together. As I said before, that 75% seems really generous, and that's probably 75% in our own kind of area, because as soon as you try and pass anywhere forward, the passing's shocking. The new ownership group originally planned to assess Dyche and the club at the end of the season, but now considering an earlier action. And I think they've got to take on board how the dissatisfaction. Fans can cry for change, but it's not even about that now. You've just got to look at the stats, and they just don't. They don't make good reading at all. So 6-5 favourite through Sky Bet, and I saw someone commented on a Facebook today saying Sky Bet aren't the most reliable because they try and factor they try and factor the news and stuff like that. So, but 6-5 from that's a massive jump. 6-5 favourite, and then Lopetegui not far behind 7-4, and then Big Ange after that 3-1. So 6-5 is the odds-on favourite next to go, and you can see why. Saw a lot of other stats about he's now on a par. He's worse than Benitez, worse than Frank Lampard, marginally better than Mike Walker still. But if you look at this squad, I don't know. I think this squad has got a lot more players in it, a lot better players in it than we had at that time. Maybe we've seen maybe when we have seen them perform and they've been overperforming. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. There does seem like someone should be able to get a tune out of those players. I just don't know who, unfortunately. Uh, yeah, I did see some of the other stats was shocking. Like we are 19th or 20th in the table for XG, shots on target, chances, big chances created. Just everything points towards a uphill struggle against and a survival battle. And yesterday we were Ipswich had leapfrogged us for a little while. Ultimately, I said ultimately again. Sorry. They finished 2-2 in the end. A couple of penalties, and Marco Silva's side did us a favour in that sense. But then Wolves have got Forest tonight, and then the way our season is going at the moment, Forest who are in second, it would just be like an Everton for Wolves to do Forest there. So hopefully Forest will stick to form and do us a favour as well. Uh, we don't want to be in situations where we're relying on other teams being worse than us. We want to be better than other teams. We don't want to stay up by default. Uh, Southampton, the worst team in the league. Are they? Are they worse than us? Yeah, it's difficult at the moment. They've had more considerable hidings than us, but I don't know. Will they have a good patch? Will we? Ipswich didn't look as hopeless as us yesterday. It looks like they've got some threat there. So anyway, this is meandered a little bit, but it's I nearly said it again. Then. Going back to Dyche, and Dyche ball needs to go, unfortunately. I do. I'm not going to say I feel for the fella because I've already said I feel for Mikalenko and Decore and Calvert-Lewin. And uh, he seems a decent enough fella. You know, he's just he's just lost at the moment. I don't like seeing stuff like the ginger prick needs to go and stuff like that. Uh, Maybe I'm just the way I am seeing that kind of stuff. Um, but he does need to go, and it's got to be sooner rather than later. Uh, we've got Peterborough coming up on Thursday. If we do go out there with Dyche still in charge, well, I wouldn't even trust him for it. What are you hanging on for? I don't know. If the longer he stays in charge now, um, the more the new owners, sorry, the more fans are gonna be left with a sour taste regarding them as well already. Which uh, we fans' movements are one thing, and I said this before, but the proof is in the pudding, there, isn't it? And 4 games in April, 4 wins in April last year, kind of kept us up. Um, can you see us getting 4 wins from anywhere? Because I can't see how we're not having shots on target. So how are we going to get goals without shots on target? That's Yeah, it just looks pretty hopeless. I sound depressed at the moment. This is what Everton does to you. So the key question there: should Dyche remain in charge until the end of the season? The dissatisfaction of the fans suggests no, but hopefully uh, they'll make that decision sooner rather than later. Sky Sports were obviously expecting something today because they went up to Goodison Park and was sniffing around, um, but there doesn't seem to have been any decision made yet. I might be recording this and I might be missing all the news going on. Oh, we can hope, can't we? Um, Moving away from Dyche Ball, there was an announcement last week on Everton's progress at Bramley Moor Dock, with the first event scheduled for February 17th. And I don't know about any of you guys. I've tried a couple of times to get through. I had my season ticket for 32 years. I've had my season ticket. And so I've got the full tenure when it comes to the Bramley Moor Dock when it comes to season ticket application. Um, but when I go on to apply for this, I've seen a few people have had the similar problem. So I've logged out and logged in again. It says I'm not eligible for this game. So Baines is under 18s. There's 10,000 capacity. So I'm not eligible for the ballot. And I haven't quite worked my way out around that yet. So I think I'm going to have to try on a computer later on. So I've tried it on my phone, on different browsers and stuff like that, and through the app. So um, that's worrying. And I've seen a few people say that's just, Everton, the way they make everything so difficult. And yeah, they do. Even stuff like that. But the 17th, I haven't got the date of the other event on here, but it's another one later on in March. So hopefully, though, I think it's limited. It's just a five or a tenner ticket. I think it was. That'd be nice to get in and have a little look at the new grounds and Where I moved to in town, if you remember me, we preview last week. I'm about 20-minute walk from there now. So after a few scoops after, I can imagine a few um, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of journeys home from there. Once we settle next year, let's just hope it's in the Prem. Um, Transfer window open. And we got some rumours. Calvert-Lewin has been attracting interest again from Newcastle, apparently, and AC Milan. Although AC Milan have been rumoured today to be going in for Rashford. So I think if they pull off the Rashford deal, I can't imagine they would be still interested in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, given his run of form at the moment. But with him being out of contract in the summer, and stalling on a new deal apparently. I think anyone who's coming in now with interest, with any kind of decent enough fee, uh, is in the best interest of the club to just take what we can, rather than him going for nothing in the summer. It's a tricky one, that, because as much as the stick as all the stick that he gets, I still think he's our best option up top. I think, given what better service and more service, not just right up and expect him to hold everything up. Some of those balls over the top, I think his finishing will come good again if he gets those opportunities. I don't think he's going to get those opportunities with Everton again, though. Unfortunately, you know, was that season where he scored a hatful, a flash in the pan. I can still see there's a quality player in there somewhere, and some people saying he's not interested and he's not going. He's still putting himself about, winning a large portion of headers. It's just there's no one there. Maybe I'm being too kind on. He's not in good form. I'll say that. His finishing should have been a lot better early on in the season. But I do think he's still our better option if we're going with one up top. We should be playing with 2 up top. Someone a little bit more dynamic in support of him, who can maybe drop back. But if we're not having, it's that Einstein thing, isn't it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, and that seems to be what Everton are doing at the moment. We can put these whatever forwards up front, but if we're not having chances and we're not having shots on target, we're not going to score goals. We're not going to win games. It's not rocket science, although it seems to be amounting to almost that. Beto, sort of picture somebody put a picture of him at the airport, and he was on a flight to Italy. So that sparked speculation that he was off on his way to Torino. He was linked with Torino and Roma, I think, potentially. But again, on Sky Sports, they've dismissed rumours that he is leaving. And I think with Chimiti was linked also with a loan move to Stoke, but Brozier and Chimiti picked up Knox, and it doesn't look like those moves will happen. And because if they do happen, then we're left stuck again, aren't we? So it doesn't really make that much sense. Okay, just bear with me a sec. Right, okay. The other news there. Oh, Michael Keane is reporting to get interest, free transfer abroad. Again, he's probably not going to be missed by a whole lot of Blues. I think he's a decent squad member to still have. He's had a massive raw deal over the last few years. Again, I don't think he's our worst centre back um, over the last few years. He's made a few high-profile mistakes, scored a few high-profile goals as well. But as a squad player, I think it's important to have players like that. So if he leaves on a free, this window. I think that'll be a bit disappointing unless we can get someone in who can back up as well. Um, Hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be the case. Either one. um, we just need. We can't just afford to keep just letting players go and not replacing them. We've got quite a few out of contract in the summer, and we've got a few loan players going back. Um, One of those, Jack Harrison. I think a few people would like that loan spell to be cancelled early. I did see one or two shouts about getting Rodriguez back in on loan. Uh, I mean, still got what could he do at Everton now? It's he was in a much better side a couple of years ago, and he didn't get on with Benitez and ultimately left. Ultimately, um, what could he offer now? He'd give us a bit of a boost, quality wise. I just don't know. I just don't know if we can afford to have a player like that. Um, who's going to do the graft? I just can't see it. Uh, we've had some interest apparently in Luton's Elijah Adebayo, Villa winger Jaden Philogene. I think I've said that. Hope I've said that right. And Hamza Egamane from Rangers. Um, I've just made up those pronunciations. Hopefully I haven't butchered them. Um, we definitely need a few faces in. Dice just said that it's unlikely that we're going to go out and spend a lot, but the owners apparently have said that there's money there to spend. So we need something. But again, like I said before, personnel. What's good is getting the personnel in if we're going to play that the same way. And uh, uh, so, we know what the change needs to be. So just let's just hope it happens sooner rather than later. Okay, so a few injuries, as I mentioned. Broja, it looks like Schmidt's taken a knock. Um, McNeil doesn't seem that far off, and Garner doesn't seem that far off. So hopefully there'll be boosts coming back into the squad. I think McNeil's been a real miss at the moment. Maybe not so much in the middle of the park, although I do think he does offer something in that number 10 position. Driving with the ball, he hasn't got the most amount of pace, but he can make a yard and he can whip a ball in and he can strike from distance. And I think our set pieces have suffered since he's been missing. So it'll be good to get him back fully fit and back in amongst the squad. And Garner, I think, if once Garner's back in, he offers an alternative to Decore in that position. And if he doesn't want to drop Decore, then you've got Garner and Mangala. The Mangala and Garner are most consistent performers, but if they do drop off a little bit, dropping Decore back there, I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. But in that position, he's not a number 10. He's not a number 8, is he? He's like a number 4 or a 6 is was that what you'd call them these days? Those central defensive midfielders. Um, but he's just more like an actual, rather than being a central defensive in front of the back four, he's more like a centre circle. And we need more. We need more from players like that. So maybe once Garner's back in, once McNeil is fully fit, that will really give another option. Um, Lindstrom didn't offer much when he came on. Sorry, when he started the other day, he put himself about a little bit more against Forest, but I don't think he's going to be an option. So maybe McNeil will end up going wide again. We'll see. And I at the moment still our brightest spark, but you can see he's trying to do it all himself, and he needs a bit of a hand there. So, and maybe McNeil can offer that. We can hope. Anyway, I shall be back in a sec with a little bit of a look at the Peterborough game coming up. This is the Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. If you haven't already, go and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/EFC Not Bitter, Just Better, or you can find us on Twitter at Just Better EFC. So this Peterborough game, Everton at home under the lights Thursday evening, and it's a real opportunity for us to restore some confidence if we're looking at it in a positive light and give fans something to celebrate. Unfortunately, in the past, those kind of situations haven't always gone for Everton, and we don't want to be in the position where it just confounds our misery. So we need to take something from this game. We need to go through, don't we? Peterborough, 19th in League One, 25 points from 24 games in a relegation battle. Like Everton, have struggled for consistency. Well, not unlike Everton, because we haven't struggled for consistency. We've been consistently bad. Forms 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw in the last 5 games. Slightly better than ours. Strengths, despite the league position, the 7th highest scoring team in the league. We're 2nd lowest, aren't we? 46 goals conceded, showing a lack of defensive stability. And this has apparently been one of our strengths, defensive stability. That's because we've had a number of clean sheets, probably amongst the highest in the league. That's all right if you're scoring goals at the other end, and we ain't. Some key players here. I haven't got a clue. I've got to be honest with you, but I'm going to mention some names. Johnson Clark-Harris, top scorer with physicality and sharp finishing. Kwame Poku, creative, pacey winger, capable of unlocking defences. And Ronnie Edwards, young defender with ball playing ability. There was talk about Ashley Young's lad playing, and father versus son clash. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I think he's on the fringes of the first team, not quite there. What's he going to go with here? Is he going to go with a strong lineup, and play Calvert-Lewin up top? I say strong lineup. That's not very strong. Is he going to give the youngsters a go? Do we have any youngsters to come in? Harrison might get a go. Patterson might get a go. So Chimiti, I'm not sure what the injury problem is, but this might have been an opportunity to play him. It might be an opportunity for Beto to lead the line. Will he keep Adrissagay and Tarkovsky in to give us a little bit bit more leadership where needed? I don't know. At this point, it's difficult to predict, because do we play those players and risk them getting injured? But if we don't play those players, are we risking going out? If we do play those players, are we risking going out? It's just, this is what it is to be an Everton fan, isn't it? It's just, if you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you play your full strength 11 and we go out, it's like, why didn't you change him? Put the kids in place. If you do put, it's really, really tricky. And Everton have found it difficult to find that balance in the last few years. As you will remember from past, if you used to listen to the podcast, I never used to do predictions, and I'm not going to start here. If Mark was still on, I'm sure he would be bold and put a prediction in place, but I just can't. I always think I'm going to jinx it, so I don't bother. I'm not superstitious, when ultimately that's the last time I use that. What I say doesn't really matter. I'm no expert. I don't know. I don't. You can put all the stats in the world in place, and it's who turns up on the day. So, question for you guys. I think I know which way this is going to go. Is Sean Dyche the man to keep Everton safe? Is he the right man for Everton moving forward? Should Everton prioritise the FA Cup or focus solely on Premier League survival? If we are going to bring any youngsters in, who should get more minutes against Peterborough? Could be a game. It could be a game for Armstrong. It could be a game for Patterson. And what are your predictions for the game? So quite a long show comparatively. I did what 6-7 minutes last week. So we've gone around, let's see, 45 minutes today. So I said that's what I was aiming for with the sweet spot. So recapping our poor form, we need to turn it round. Dyche, he might well be gone this time tomorrow if you were listening to it. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't like to be in that position, and a lot of the time, it's taken a lot to get me to that. But as I said earlier on, numerous times, the proof is in the statistics there. Where is it going to come from? I did see something that said if in the past Everton were in this position, who would you look to get out of the position? And it would be someone like Dyche. But Dyche has got us in this position. He got us out of the position in the past, but now he's had time to work with something, and he is not the answer this time. If you had to push me, and I don't, I don't want to see this as a prediction because I can't see how he's going to stay in a job. I think if he did stay in the job, I think they would scramble a few wins together, by hook or by crook. That isn't what Everton fans want moving forward. We cannot be going into this amazing new stadium, scraping enough wins together and hoping that three sides in the league are worse than us. I was thinking about our club motto. Well, first of all, I started thinking about, why have we called our podcast for new listeners, Everton FC, not bitter, just better, or not bitter, just better, Everton podcast. And it was a little bit tongue in cheek in the past. Um, the not bitter side, because that shower across the park call us the bitters. And so it was a little bit of a reaction to that, not bitter, just better. And the way Everton used to run things, I used to have pride in the way we used to run things, and we used to do things above board in a better way. And the way the club was run was arguably better. But in the past 5 years or so, it's just gone to absolute shit. People will argue and say that the rot started long before that, with Ken Wright's tenure. Uh, Nowhere near as bad as the situation that we're in as an overall club as we are now, in my opinion. But not better, just better. That side of it, as far as Everton go, can we just get in a much better standing as a club, as a team? Our club motto: Nil satis nisi optimum. Let's make it mean something again. Nothing but the best. I mean, at the moment, we're looking like, should it be changed to, please let us not just be the absolute worst. It doesn't quite have the same kind of ring to it, does it? So yeah. Anyway, depressing listener, if you stuck with me for that long, I appreciate it. What I'm going to do in future, I'm going to invite, if you want to put your thoughts in through a video clip. I will edit it in on audio clips. Feel free to send via the Facebook page. I'll start working out a better way of doing that. And I will put the links in. I will have put the links in before this on how you can get in touch with us. And thanks for your support. And I realise building up the podcast listener base again is going to be a bit of a long project. So thanks if you're joining me now. This will be up on YouTube again. It's going to be up through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast platforms. And then hopefully back on Friday, and I will be discussing, hopefully, a win against Peterborough, and hopefully talking about who might be next in charge, the next man in charge of Everton. And I mean, who might that be? Seen a few people saying, give Baines it, with maybe Coleman or Ferguson as his number two. Other people saying Harsley, some other saying Moyes, even though Moyes has kind of effectively ruled himself out by saying that he doesn't want to relegation battle at this point of his career. And then people saying Potter, but Potter looks like he's being lined up to replace Lopetegui at West Ham. That is a tricky thing. If Dyche does go, who will come in? But he's going in the summer anyway. There's no way they're going to renew a contract for him. So they've got to pull the trigger now, surely. Okay. So that's hopefully talking about all that and having some positive news for everyone on Friday, along with a victory to talk about. Please, Blues, don't keep doing this to us. Thanks and have a good week, Blues.